Welcome to the Expositor Podcast with Dr. Stephen J. Lawson. Dr. Lawson is the founder and president of One Passion Ministries. The Expositor Podcast is focused on taking your preaching to the next level. Now, here's Dr. Lawson.
In this podcast, I want to talk to you about the proper use of humor in the pulpit. Humor is a part of our personality, our temperament. It's a part of life, and Proverbs talks about how joy is like medicine to the bones. And we bring our temperament, our personality into the pulpit, and a part of that is even our sense of humor. I think it is proper to use humor in the pulpit, but it should be used sparingly, and I think there are some guardrails on the side of the road that need to be considered. Humor can be appropriate. I remember when I was in seminary and one of my professors said, if I can get you to open your mouth to laugh, I can pour the medicine down you much better. And there is a time and a place to establish rapport, to be winsome, to be able to connect with people with the proper use of wit. I know as a young man, when I was a young preacher, I think I crossed the boundaries. I crossed the lines. I was pretty funny when I was in college, and I had kind of an ability to make people laugh. And when I graduated from seminary, I brought that with me into the pulpit. And I quickly found out that the use of humor in the parking lot or in the lobby, even when it's appropriate there, does not translate it to being appropriate in the pulpit. I always used humor as a way to poke at other people and to kind of put someone down and make everyone else in the room laugh at that particular person. And when I was a young preacher, I did that in the pulpit, and I could get people in the church to laugh at a particular deacon or someone on staff. And it was very funny to everyone except the person that I was poking at, or to his wife, who was very protective of her husband. And I would have to get in the pulpit the next Sunday and confess that I went too far in my jab and in my barb at another person. And so I had to learn how to redirect my humor and to use it appropriately. And so my humor became self-deprecating, where I turned it back on myself and I would make fun of myself. I would draw people in to laugh at me, and that became much more effective. Everyone has to know their own use of humor and how that's effective. For me, I don't tell funny stories in the pulpit because I don't tell funny stories outside the pulpit. Humor for me is unscripted, it's unplanned, it's spontaneous in the spur of the moment. And it's usually turning a phrase or using a word in an unanticipated manner that has a certain element of humor to it. Sarcasm can be an effective use of humor. God is sarcastic. He certainly was with Job. In Job 38, when he said, now Job, remind me where you were when we created the world together. I've seemed to have forgotten where you were, Job. And so God effectively used sarcasm, and when we read that account, it does put a smile on my face. And I think we can use humor effectively as long as it's within the parameters of what is edifying and what is appropriate. At the end of the day, we are to be sober-minded. The Scripture says there's to be a gravitas and a weightiness about our message, but occasionally a proper use of humor can help wake people up. It can be a reconnecting point, re-entry point. It also can allow you to come across as a normal person, to not always be so stiff and rigid. So I would encourage you to think about how you use humor in the pulpit and how it is appropriate. And if you're like me, I have a wife who is very helpful to me, to give me feedback, to let me sense how other people are taking what I'm saying. So there can always be a fly in the ointment, and that fly can be the improper use of humor that can color negatively the whole message. Be sure that your use of humor is proper, is glorifying of God, is edifying, and can be used to the greater end of getting your message across. But never let your humor dwarf or overshadow what you have to say. And I have heard some preachers in which their humor has gone way too far and also takes up too much space in their sermon. You'll have to decide. God will lead you how you use humor in the pulpit.